And with us right now, Lisa Schermerhorn and Kevin Martin. You are each the co-founders of Peak Performance Mindset Coaching.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it.
So from a high level, and Kevin's just, oh, look at that, coming in with a nice camera there. So yeah. Kevin, welcome back. Kevin was popping in off his phone and back in on a desktop. But yeah, so explain from a high level what Peak Performance Mindset Coaching does.
Sure, Lisa, I'm going to leave that to you to start.
All right, I'll start with that. Both of us have a background in working with people in personal development and working with their subconscious mind. We're both certified hypnotherapists and masters in neuro-linguistic programming. So we really help people get to the root cause of their issues. And as coaches, we're mindset coaches. So we help people really break through and eliminate all those limiting beliefs, all those blocks that get in their way, especially money mindset. I can't tell you how amazing it is when people really get in and start to discover what their true beliefs around money. And then they realize that they've been sabotaging themselves so much. And we also work with people's why and help them get into alignment with who they are at a deeper level. We're both certified why coaches.
And what's a why coach, and what is why coaching?
So one of the things that was really powerful, I discovered that there's this fellow, Gary Sanchez with the Why Institute. He saw Simon Sinek speak and he was wowed and he went to Simon. He said, wow, tell me, I love this whole thing about discovering my why. How do I find that out? And Simon said, I don't know. You'll have to figure out your why on your own. So Gary went on to interview people for 10 years. And discovered that there's actually 9 whys. And so as a certified why coach, what we do is that we take these whys, you take a 5-minute test to discover your why, and then we work with them to discover their how they do it, and what they bring. So it's important to have all 3. So Kevin and I, what's interesting is we're both challenged. We think differently. So that's our why. And that why really is amazing how it infiltrates all parts of your life. So I think differently in the ways that I live in a log cabin in the middle of nowhere, on the side of a mountain. It's how I vacation. It's the type of cars that I drive. You know, everything is different. And I like to work with people who are different, innovative, outside the box thinkers. And Kevin has the same why. He's also challenged outside the box.
Yeah, I discovered that I was that all my life. I've always challenged, the stereotypical thinking, and I've been, wanting to be different, and it's wonderful, and it's wonderful to bring into the business as well.
So who do you typically work with, and like who's coming to you, and when they're coming to you, what are the pain points that they're talking about? Like what are they concerned about?
Well, we like to work, there are people who are successful, it's like you've ticked off that list, but they still feel empty inside because they're not necessarily aligned with who they are. They're chasing a dream. They're chasing what the culture tells us. They're chasing that list of, okay, I now have this house. I now have this car. I now have all these things, but that lasts for 30 seconds. And now they're feeling this sense of, I'm not sure who I am. I don't know where I belong. And so it's about truly being aligned with who you are and making sure that you know who you are. Because here's the interesting thing with the why. When I discovered my why, my how, and my what. So my why is I challenge conventional thinking. How I do that is finding a better way. And what I bring is the ability to make sense out of complicated situations. As soon as I discovered that, it helped me own who I am, helped me own how I help other people, because especially as someone who is challenged or thinks differently, I know for me, being different was not easy. Got bullied a lot. I had to struggle a lot through people judging me, and I always felt that I was broken. And as I have developed myself and learned to own that, then it became really empowering for me to stand and yes, I'm different and that's okay. Many people who don't own their why often have shame around it. For instance, I had a client whose why is simplify. And so he consults with these engineering companies. When he works with engineers, he'll get an email that's 5 pages long and he would respond in 4 bullet points because he could get through all the noise and get down to the brass tacks. And he didn't value his time. And so he didn't charge a lot. And once he realized that that was what his gift was, he tripled what he was charging because he realized that he needed to take, people needed that skill that's set. And here's the cool thing is when you are in alignment with who you are, it's easy and effortless to be you. It's work to not be you. And when people aren't in alignment with who they are, they're exhausted. They really struggle in life. Being you should not be a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I agreed. So let's talk about limiting beliefs. Like what are some other common limiting beliefs that come up, particularly again, thinking about business leaders, business owners, those who might be working in growth or sales or something like that, where, we all have to perform obviously professionally, but I think, and again, mainly it's just, I think as I'm thinking of my own perspective, you can get in your own head. And
yes, you can.
You up.
Yes, you can. And, when it comes to sales, especially, and a lot of the people we work with are entrepreneurs and they're responsible for the sales themselves. But when it comes to sales, you can have these limiting beliefs both on yourself and on your marketplace. I mean, this past year, it was easy to believe that it was going to be difficult, if not impossible, to sell a lot of things. Yet there were some people out there just rocking it and doing an incredible job. And you find that, by the way, for some reason, you find that in all depressions. And the one we had, the recession that we had in 2008 era, that brought companies like Uber out there, right? There was no limiting beliefs in the heads of those founders. Is just so a lot of times limiting beliefs might be external, but a good deal of the time the limiting beliefs are internal. I can't do that. I don't have the experience. My company can't do that because we just don't have the knowledge. Those limiting beliefs end up to be solid black and white rules, and they don't think beyond it. Once they've got the limiting belief, they don't think beyond it. They don't allow themselves to believe that they can do that.
So examples of that are people who may have limiting beliefs around either success, or one of the things that's so fascinating are people who have a lot of money who are afraid they're going to lose it.
Yeah.
Because depending upon how they're raised, they have the scarcity mindset, and the scarcity mindset works with people who don't have money or people who have a lot of money. It affects them both. And I've seen it in both places. The fascinating thing is when you have people with a lot of money and they're churning, they're always worried about the money's going to run out. Money's going to run out. I'm never going to have enough. I'm never going to have enough. And it's this terrible hamster wheel, and it really tortures them. And you have to get them to a point where when is enough enough? What is it that you're looking to fulfill yourself with? Because you're never going to get it outside of yourself. So these limiting beliefs is like, at what point are you going to be at peace with who you are? And the real gift is when you can turn that into being of service to others, helping the people in your company find the right why. How many people are promoted into mediocrity because they're in the wrong place? They might have been a rock star at one point, they get promoted, but when you know the why of the people who work with you, they can be placed in the perfect position. You can communicate with them and better understand them, especially people who have the why of trust. They're all about trust and trusting relationships. But if you betray someone's trust who has the why of trust, they're done with you.
Yeah.
So if you have a boss who has a why of trust or someone who works for you, knowing that can really change the dynamic between the two of you.
Also, limiting beliefs, back to that, they can be around money. They can be, I shouldn't make that much money. One of my earlier clients, every time he got to six figures, he would sabotage it. He wasn't consciously aware of what was going on. And as it turned out, he had this belief that once he got making too much money, he would lose everything, because it's exactly what happened to his father. He would lose everything. Relationships would go down the drain, and it would just be a disaster. So that was a limiting belief he had about making money, making too much money. And I think that's not uncommon. I think that's common. People will think that, in the back of their head, if I am that wealthy, I'm not going to be a good person, or it's not going to be fun, or it's not going to be, something that I can live with. And I said in the back of the head, because they're not conscious of it. That all comes from, growing up a long time ago. So
one of the things that I help people discover, well, Kevin and I both do, is when that behavior is unconscious. Usually it's that hamster wheel that you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And how you help identify it in you is, what is that pattern? And if you have a belief that you can't trust people, you tend to attract people who you can't trust. Therefore, your belief is true. When you shift that and realize that you can trust people, then all of a sudden you start to attract people who are trustworthy. So it's really important to understand the power of your mind, the power of your subconscious mind, and where those beliefs came from. And I always also have people look at who's triggering you. Because if someone is triggering you, there's a part of you that you need to heal and fix, and they're showing you. So I always look at that as gratitude. Thank you for showing that. Now I know I have more work to do on myself.
Yeah. So if someone's like, man, how do I stop worrying? Like, what's the process for letting go of that worry?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot. Kevin,
give us some tools. I want something, some homework that someone listening can do.
Okay.
Practical tips.
First of all, becoming aware of where the worrying comes from is a big step. Okay. Where does it come from? What it specifically worry? And of course, that worry is all about thinking the worst case, right? Worry is all about thinking something's going to go wrong. And it's usually thinking of worst case going wrong. One of the big problems with worrying is the fact the way our mind works. The more you think about something, and it doesn't matter whether you're thinking about something you don't want or you want, the more you think about it, the more you're gonna bring it to you. And we bring it to us in a lot of different ways. We've always heard this term, self-fulfilling prophecy. That is the way our mind works. That's why there is a self-fulfilling prophecy. First of all, we tell our clients, okay, let's talk about what you want. Let's start thinking about what you want to happen as opposed to what you don't want to happen, because that's what worry is all about.
Yes.
Okay? Then there are several techniques that we can use. There's a technique with eye movement that I've developed that I use for a lot of different things, and it works great for worry.
Yeah.
There's a technique.
And I appreciate that. Let's say before we start working, and I understand, we're going to come to you for the big stuff, but maybe some practical tips that we can at least, if we're not quite ready for that intervention, that at least we could do.
Right. So reframing. Reframing is one of the most important things that I do with my clients. Look at it from a different perspective. What are the gifts that this is giving me? Breathing. When you can get yourself to a point where you do some deep belly breaths to calm yourself down and get centered and grounded. Meditation, critical. Those are a lot of techniques. When someone's also anxious, they're, getting grounded, getting out in nature, working with them. We have some tools. There's one where you literally take your fingers. Actually, Kevin taught me this. You take your fingers and you bring them out into your peripheral vision, and you have a lazy eye view and take a deep breath.
Oh, that's
That
kind of cool. I've never thought
automatically.
of doing that. Like,
Okay,
if you're
take a deep
listening,
breath.
you're like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's talking about. But so to describe it, imagine we're going to put your two fingers, maybe about 12 inches. The way I'm doing it. I don't know if it's the right way,
Yeah,
but so I'm
got
taking
it.
two fingers, putting them together about 12 inches in front of my eyes. And then I'm going to swing them around so that I can barely see them in my periphery.
Yeah, barely see, but you want to see them. And and there's neuroscience.
That's like instantly I can feel, it's, anything that I can do to, kind of quiet that monkey mind kind of thing.
Exactly what that does.
This is instant. As a matter of fact, what's really amazing is there's a part, once you anchor that, there's a technique where you tap your knuckle and anchor that in, and then you won't have to do that anymore. You actually just tap your knuckle and it brings back the feeling. I work with athletes too, with golfers, and using techniques like that so they can get, once you pull the emotion out of something, then you can be fully grounded and think about something and really be quick on your feet. Emotion will really get you out of sync. But yeah, the finger thing, and you'll get to a point where you don't even need to use your fingers. You just use that lazy eyesight and just make sure you expand it. It puts your brain into what we call alpha state, which is the learning state. So you can do that before you need to absorb lots of information. And then when you need to take a test or you need access to it, you do it again and the information comes up very quickly.
It's an amazing thing. It's a Hawaiian practice called hakala. And there's neuroscience behind it, but it works. It works great.
Yeah, as long as, what I always contend with, even if someone doesn't really understand the science, like if it works and your brain thinks it works, that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. Once in a while, I get coaches that, someone with a very analytical brain might say, well, that's a little woo-woo for me. It's like, okay, that's fine. But if it relaxes you, if it, kind of resets, and you're able to, bounce out of, if you're, kind of just rehearsing conversations over and over again, you can interrupt that cycle. Cool. Whatever tool you use that can help you do that, anything's better than, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's like when you're constantly replaying conversations and not ruminating, but it's like that, right?
Yeah.
No, ruminating is the word I use.
Yeah.
You just kind of over and over. It's that hamster wheel. It's like over and over and over again, and you can't get off that.
Yeah.
But
So we want to replace that too with positive beliefs. So for example, like if I've got a scarcity mindset, and trust me, I mean, growing up, very poor, working class, and in the Midwest, where there's always that culturally, there's that sensibility, at least, how I was raised, just like, being wealthy was kind of a bad thing. And you always have to apologize if hey, nice car. Oh yeah, but I got it at a really good deal. Like you have to do that. And it's like, there's just like almost an embarrassment. And again, I don't mean to transpose on an entire region of the country. No, I'm just going to speak for myself. But I know that comes up.
Here's the thing about that. It does. I do a talk about money mindset, and I show a picture of a mansion, and I ask everyone in the room, raise your hand if you want to make $1 million a year. And everyone raises their hand. And then I say, please tell me about the people who live in this house. Oh, they hate each other. They're getting a divorce. Their kids hate them. Their kids are on drugs. They can't afford to heat the house. It always is amazing to me how people think about people with money because of the programming that we get on television. How many times do you get to hear about people who have money who are great philanthropists and do really good things?
Totally.
We don't hear that.
Oh, well, we should.
And there are
right. I know. Yes.
We should.
It depends. In popular media, we don't often enough. I guess my view is a little perspective because I get to interview, 6, 7, 8-figure business owners on a daily basis. So I know the stuff that they do, but yeah.
Right. But the importance is once you identify what that belief is, because if you're getting triggered by people with money, then you want to look at what's your money mindset. What Kevin and I have the ability to do is go back through your life to those programs, that defined you, that those beliefs of how you were raised are a huge part of you. And that's beautiful, but that can also get in your way, because oftentimes those beliefs don't come from you. They come from a teacher, a parent, a trauma, a schoolmate, all of those situations that get programmed very deeply in us. And then we don't know what's our belief and what's someone else's belief.
Yeah.
And so when we're able to go through, and what we're doing is releasing it. I use a tool called the emotional release method. We use neuro-linguistic programming. There's a lot of different techniques that we use. And it's not that we can't change what happened, but we can help people change the way they feel about it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And
All
the
right, so
bottom line-
Kevin and I apologize, we're out of time.
All right.
This has gone really, really quick. Kevin Martin, Lisa Schermerhorn, your website is peakperformancemindsetcoaching.com. Clearly, we could talk for another hour or so.
Yes.
And I apologize that the time is against us here. But again, your website, peakperformancemindsetcoaching.com. You could, once you go there, there's a green button that says Get Started. You can reach out to both Lisa and Kevin. And guys, thank you so much for this. There's so much that we could unpack here. This has been fantastic.
It was fantastic. Thank you,
Thank you
Josh.
so much. Thank you for having us.
Take care.